boy snaps awake and realizes he's jumped straight to asterisk level 2 asterisk asterisk. He swivels his head, stunned by the brand new surroundings and completely thrown off by the sudden shift in scenery. The boy scans the strange place around him, ringed by jagged stones and eerie lights, trying to piece together exactly where he's landed. Then bam, it's revealed that multiple people are watching him live, and this is the very first dungeon challenge he's stepping into. As another adventurer battles a giant snake inside the dungeon, a live broadcast streams the deadly showdown for the whole world to watch. They tell every adventurer, when you roam, you stream everything. It's the reason crimes don't sneak in and accidents don't go unnoticed, security and a perfect record, all in one, and even if the protagonist doesn't get every detail, he still has to roll with it. The kid gets his heart racing as he gears up for his very first stream as a Dan tuber, straight into dungeon exploration. He grips his device with a burst of excitement, ready to kick things off, then he checks the data and freezes because a few people are already locked in on his live stream. During the live stream, the boy pops in with a huge grin, introducing himself as a brand new Dan tuber. He blurts out that he just wrapped up training, then he's heading straight into a dungeon. Only as he starts walking, comments start popping up, and the excitement hits hard because it feels like he's really got eyes on him like a true streamer. As the boy strides through the room, he can't stop thinking about the tie system, the one that clocks exactly how tightly a streamer and their viewers are linked. He realized that the first broadcast usually drags in a ton of ties, and that's how they figure out who everyone will back later, so yeah, the weight of that choice has him on edge. The protagonist admits he's basically a newbie at streaming, but he still barrels toward the reception, buzzing with excitement, then blurts out that he wants the power to decide if he streams or not. As soon as he steps into the dungeon, the broadcast kicks on by itself. Boom, viewers start spamming live comments, and he's instantly mortified, begging for a little privacy. The boy swears he'll give it everything he's got to live up to your expectations. He bursts onto the first floor of the Tokyo dungeon, eyes wide, because he knows this place is pure danger where death shows up for everyone. Right after that, he stumbles into a brutal scene, and his mind instantly panics about the broadcast's age rating, wondering if all that blood will slam the doors on younger viewers. As he struts down the dungeon corridor, the boy blurts that his motto is simple: work steady, work careful. Even with the first floor looking safer, he won't drop his guard. He stays locked in, high alert. In the comments, viewers start trading stories about other streamers' traumas and brutal scenes. He admits the whole thing is terrifying, but then he reassures everyone he's ready, fully prepared. The boy finally climbs up to the first floor of the Tokyo dungeon, eyes sharp as he scans the halls, and he blurts out that this is the very place where he saw his parents. Even with that sting of memory still hitting him, he pushes on, then flashes the others a confident smile as he greets them. Even with nerves buzzing in his chest, he can't deny it. This dungeon's strange, electric atmosphere feels thrilling as hell. He forces himself to stay calm, and for a moment the first floor feels oddly peaceful. Then a group spots a fork in the path, and you can tell the adventure is about to split wide open. In a flashback from his lessons, the boy replays his beginner course smartphone instructions, studying what the device shows, skills, his location, and whether the broadcast is live. The map of the first floor shows it all. Every hallway links up, and each route secretly funnels you straight to the next level. He realizes there's no need to hit a dead end. If he stays calm, he can push forward and never lose his way. Buzzing with excitement, the boy blurts out that his mission for the day is to wipe out 3 slimes. While a little nerves still jitter in his chest, he pushes the vibes to stay upbeat. Before he picks one of the routes, he cracks a joke like, "I'm not trying to make my first day a death milestone." Then he goes for the third route and heads out while everyone watches him. The boy picks his way down an empty path, awed by the eerie quiet, yet he forces himself to stay calm. As he strides along, the required adventure course flashes back in his mind. Sure, he passed, but he nods, admits he basically slept through the explanation, and now he's got no clue what it was even about. The boy's eyes lock on his very first enemy, a squirming slime. He can't believe how cute this little creature looks as it creeps toward him, inch by inch. Then the broadcast blares that the battle's officially started, and the comments explode with cheers, hyping him up for his first real confrontation. With zero hesitation, the boy snatches the slime and slams it to the ground in one brutal, straight-up strike. The hit lands hard, blasting the creature's fluids across the battlefield, and with a smug grin, he wipes out his first enemy clean and proud. After wiping out the slime, the boy can't believe his eyes. His live stream explodes with comments. Some fans rave about his performance, and others swing hard with accusations that he was cruel to the creature. Baffled, he can't help but wonder, are slimes really that loved? Even with everyone throwing criticism at him, he insists he won't apologize for monsters, because when they're born into a world where survival comes first, that's just how it is. While he's lost in thoughts about slimes, the boy brings up a new nightmare: snow rabbits, and unlike slimes, he treats them like pure danger with zero mercy to spare. He tells you straight up that they're treacherous. One wrong move and they'll break someone's neck. And when you press him about other adventurers, he admits he barely watches other streams, so he's got no real clue what anyone else has gone through. While you lean in, glued to the live stream, craving every second, the boy keeps exploring, baffled by the eerie quiet after his slime fight. He thought monsters would swarm him, but this dungeon is oddly peaceful. Still, he forces his courage to the front and pushes deeper, bracing for whatever nightmare shows up next. As the boy keeps trudging through the dungeon, exhaustion crashes over him and he can't stop thinking, is this what every adventurer's life is? He stares at how many levels stretch ahead and starts to wonder, could there be a way to skip parts of the path? Soon, a livestream comment drops a bombshell. There really is a way to push forward straight to the next step, a secret shortcut between the floors. The boy's eyes go wide when a notification pops up about a level shortcut. Totally baffled and wildly thrilled at once, he shoots up, raising the tablet high like he's about to reveal a secret. He digs in to figure out what that message even means, and to uncover who Yukikaze really is, the mystery person behind it all. The boy's heart practically bursts when he clocks that Yukikaze, an adventurer ranked B, is actually watching his stream and dropping comments. He doesn't know the guy personally, but he instantly understands how massive that fixed-rank seal is, and the attention makes him feel truly honored. Yukikaze's channel may be small, but once you're officially rank B, people start treating her with real respect. As the boy recalls why he admires Yukikaze, his excitement surges even higher. She fights with 2 blades, hides behind a fox mask, and somehow fills the air with power that pulls him in, but the biggest reason he respects her: she's insanely strong. Sparkling with excitement, he blurts that Yukikaze is the only dantuber he follows, then urges everyone to run straight to her channel. This is the most fired up he's been yet. The boy bursts out, grinning ear to ear, shouting that he'll praise every one of the people he admires. No shame, not a second wasted. He gives Yukikaze his full respect and makes sure everyone knows it, and the livestream comments start teasing him, joking that he's basically shilling another channel right in the middle of his own broadcast. But Yukikaze takes it in stride with great humor, and the boy can't help but beam, showing off this brighter, livelier side of himself. The boy pressed for more details on the level shortcut, and the moment he heard that tip, curiosity hit him hard. Yukikaze fires back in the comments, claiming that if he pushes just a bit farther, he'll stumble onto a blazing white magical circle, and the protagonist totally plays dumb on purpose. And the viewers burst into laughter at his reaction, and yeah, he can't deny it. Something weird is going on with how this crowd reacts every time shortcuts like this come up. The boy finally spots the glowing magic circle Yukikaze talked about, and when he crouches to stare at the symbol on the ground, he realizes, yep, it's the real deal, magical through and through. Even with everyone shouting not to come near it, he still throws caution aside and believes the info Yukikaze hands him, yet the way everyone's reacting feels wildly wrong. Fully trusting Yukikaze, he strides into the magical circle with a carefree grin, convinced there's nothing to fear. Then Yukikaze snaps into the chat, shouting for him to stop right now, but the moment is already gone. The moment the boy steps into the circle, bam, he gets yanked in, stunned and clueless, like he didn't even know what was happening. Everyone watching gasps and freaks out, wondering if he truly read the course manual. Narration hits back, yep, he really took the shortcut, and now there's zero way to back out. Right now, the boy takes in the new world he landed in after the shortcut, and it's all wrong: rocky ground, no answers, cliffs closing him in from every side. The air feels tense in his lungs, and the moment hits him hard. He finally realizes what his choice really cost. The boy's breath catches as he slams into a totally unknown, hostile situation, panicking about where on earth he is, because he's never seen a floor like this before. Then a comment pops up in the live stream and spills the truth. He's wandered into unexplored territory, with someone sarcastically cheering him on like, wow, great job finding the new area. Panic-stricken, the boy stares into the unknown and demands answers. What does it even mean to be here, and why did he end up in this unexplored place? While he's scrambling to make sense of it all, Yukikaze drops an apology in the chat. She never thought he'd actually step into the circle. That bombshell rips open the truth and his shock turns ice cold. He's way off plan completely. The kid finally admits he dozed through the beginner training, and that's why he had no clue the magical circle could be deadly. Then the comments section lit up with viewers roasting him as reckless. As he checks his location, he realizes he's on the 46th floor, beating every newcomer's record, and that leaves him stunned. With a shaky, nervous smile, he decides to proudly show everyone where he landed. When the boy checks the device, he realizes he's standing on the 500th floor of the dungeon, a spot nobody has ever even logged. The comments immediately blow up with disbelief because this is 10 times deeper than the last record. No room for doubt, he feels how serious this is the moment the phone confirms it, and then it finally clicks. He's probably completely screwed. The boy scans his surroundings and instantly knows this place will chew up a rookie who's still stuck with basic starter gear. The truth slams into him. He's moments from death, and panic rips through his chest as one question screams in his head. What does it actually feel like to be dragged down to ruin? But deep down, something in him refuses to die. Panic surges when he realizes he might drop dead right here in the stream, and his mind races through every moment he hasn't lived yet and what it would do to Yukikaze. And even that slime he'd fought earlier wasn't enough to stop him. Now determination clenches tight, and he refuses to die here. He's not pathetic, not alone, and definitely not dying. No matter how fear claws at him, the boy vows he won't go down, admits he messed up by ignoring the warnings and blowing off the course, and now he's begging for one more chance to fight, shouting that the stream can't be shut off, because he's still alive and he'll survive anything to prove it. Head bowed in pure reverence, the boy shoots out an apology in front of the cameras and practically begs you for help, and even through his embarrassment he admits the truth: he can't survive here without your support. While some stare in stunned silence and others crack jokes, he refuses to stay here and die alone. The cheers start rolling in, and even though Yukikaze doesn't want to, she steps up to help anyway, so the boy shoots her a genuine, grateful smile because deep down he knows the blame was all his. In the comments, some rush to defend Yukikaze while others grin and soak up the chaos. Still, he exhales because one thing hits him hard: he's not completely alone in this journey. The boy fires back to the chat, then dives right into describing what's all around him. He stares at the mountains of lava, feels the heat blasting his skin, and notices the ground looks brutally steep. While he's still trying to make sense of everything, he spots monsters looming in the distance. Then the dread hits again because danger is circling back fast. The boy spots a gigantic wolf up ahead and forces himself to stay calm, even though part of him wonders if it's just a normal beast. Then the comments hit. The dungeon's temperature is controlled so people can actually survive, even with all that lava, but for beginners the rule is simple: don't go hunting monsters, avoid them. Now that a real threat is staring him down, he freezes, not knowing what his next move is. The boy finally unveils his skills, praise that lets him spot monsters and see their level, plus an item box. A magical pouch that always keeps the same weight. Sure, it's super handy, but it's all support magic with no real punch in a fight. With danger closing in fast, he admits the brutal truth: right now, he's got nothing that can stop monsters. He remembers when the dungeons first showed up 2 years ago. Back then, you only needed a single skill to step inside. He thought it was going to be fun, then life-or-death reality slammed into him. Yukikaze urges him on, insisting he can still learn new skills with time, but then the chat drops one sharp question: what about the floor boss? And that's when it hits him. He hasn't even considered it until right now. He finally squares up with the floor boss, this huge, weird monster, and when he realizes he has to beat this exact kind of enemy to keep moving forward, pure confusion hits him like a punch. But he finally lets out a breath of relief when he learns he doesn't have to take it down himself, someone else already beat it. Then the chat throws out a new plan. Grab a safe spot, rest up, because fighting it right now isn't happening. The boy listens to Aragami explain that starting on the 50th floor, every huge country gets its own quiet rest area, basically a rest cave per level, so he tells him to track one down for shelter and promises to help. He's stunned, and then it clicks. He's talking to a famous name, the 2 explorer on the leaderboard, a huge American star. The boy's mind goes blank when he realizes a living legend who can solo the 50th floor is actually watching his stream, and now he's spiraling. Did he mess up, or was he never meant to get noticed? He checks his device, and his jaw drops when he realizes more than 150,000 people are watching his stream right now. Right now, urgent news explodes onto every screen across the world. News crews explode with the story of Sakai Katoba, an exasperated Tokyo high schooler who vanished during a dungeon exploration, only to be accidentally thrown onto the dungeon's 500th floor. As cameras swarm and the world holds its breath, he keeps streaming live, proving over and over that he's still alive. Diving to a depth like that shatters every record anyone's ever set. Sekai's speechless when he realizes he's on the news, so he blurts into the camera that he's okay, imagining his parents watching. Then the broadcast hits even harder, his stream exploding with massive visibility and pulling in viewer after viewer. Viewer count rockets past 400,000 like it can't be stopped. Still mortified, Sekai drops into a bow and begs for help, introducing himself like, "I'm brand new, please, I need your guidance." He forces a smile, telling himself this isn't a setback, he's gained more allies, and with sheer grit, he barrels ahead to track down the cave Aragami promised. Sekai tiptoes forward, going silent and careful so the monsters won't catch sight of him. He tiptoes along, trying to stay hidden, until a wolf locks eyes with him and zeroes in on his every move. Sekai finally climbs to the top of the hill and lets out a breathless celebration. He thinks the place is wide open and peaceful. He even starts to wonder if this is some kind of bonus stage where he'll breeze through, until Aragami snaps at him not to jinx it, and right then, something drops in from above. A monstrous wolf the size of a nightmare erupts above Sekai, and terror hits him so hard he freezes on the spot. With a shaky voice, he tries a cautious hello, but the moment hits and he knows it. Danger is real. Yukikaze explodes in the chat run. Sekai bolts for his life, sprinting away from that massive black wolf as it leaps after him, and even with fear clawing at him, he flashes a shaky smile, talking out loud like help is coming, like someone somehow will save him. Sekai sprints like his life depends on it as the giant wolf barrels after him, right on his heels, and dread crashes over him because he can't shake the feeling this is the end. Every step drags the monster closer, its jaws gaping like they're about to swallow him whole, yet Sekai keeps sprinting with everything he's got, barely scraping out of its reach. Sekai screams that he can't take this anymore, begs the live stream crowd for help, and right then, a super chat pops up for funeral expenses, like the universe is trolling him. He barely dodges a devastating hit that blasts the ground behind him, and even with despair crushing his chest, he's still thinking, I can totally make money off these stream clips later. As Sekai sprints for his life, he snaps that if the viewers are gonna spam super chats, they better be worth it. Then Yukikaze cuts in and tells him to use the cash to buy potions. And Aragami lays it out, each one costs a whopping $100,000, but if you lose a limb, it can regenerate it back. Then the screen suddenly erupts with donations, 10 million in all, and Sekai can barely believe it, staring at the sheer amount and realizing this might actually be his way out. Sekai soaks in the joy of the miracle donations, then bolts straight into the store to grab potions. As they flash through the air, he snaps his item box power on and snatches them mid-leap, ready to unleash them the moment he bolts. Sekai sprints from the giant wolf and lunges for the floating potions, but as he leaps into the air, everything hits at once: hands, aim, timing, and he fumbles. Still, he somehow slips a hit onto the enemy, even while his mind races to find a way out before he gets hurt. Sekai gets struck and a searing, gut-wrenching pain explodes through his arm. But then it hits him, his arm is regenerating at lightning speed, and in pure shock, he scrambles to figure out why while still sprinting away. Sekai keeps sprinting even as his arm reknits itself, and panic still doesn't stop him from scanning the livestream comments, laughs, jokes, the whole chaos, until one viewer calls out his skills and hypes him up. Sekai is desperate, he yells for real help, pleading for a solution, not a bunch of cruel laughs. Sekai vents that the viewers are doing absolutely nothing, and that it's all just pointless. But then Yukikaze chimes in, he says he just slipped past a cave. Aragami even points out that it looks like a rest area. Sekai snaps around, totally stunned, and finally spots the place, shocked he somehow missed it. As Sekai bolts from the monster, he whips around and yells at the viewers, basically saying, "This is what it means to watch, drop useful info in the comments." Then he chugs his potion and keeps sprinting, buzzing from the chaos like, this is the real spirit of live streaming in a dungeon. As Sekai keeps sprinting, he suddenly trips, slips hard, and crashes to the ground. Right then, it hits him. He remembers a comment tip: big monsters can be smashed from below or from behind, so he squares up, spots the weak spot, and locks in. The monster surges forward and fires a brutal burst of energy straight at Sekai. She slammed her fist into his face for the 4th time, landing dead center. Still, somehow he stands his ground, unbelievably refusing the brutal hit. Sekai gets launched, tumbles across the ground, then pops back up with a confident grin, and he rockets toward the cave entrance while a giant wolf barrels after him, right on his heels. Even with death breathing down his neck, he keeps his eyes forward. Sekai slides into the cave and throws up a quick celebration. He escaped alive. His viewers across the globe stare in stunned silence. Still gasping for breath, he clutches his device and demands to know what just happened, then asks if he'll be safe once he gets inside. Sekai realized the wolf doesn't follow him into the cave, and that's when safety finally clicked into place, while super chat messages kept flooding in, cheering him for surviving. Relief washes over him, but fear still bites, so he steadies his breath as he watches the monster looming outside. Sekai, still vibrating with adrenaline, starts cursing the wolf, calling it a fire-spewing idiot, then laughs at it for bolting and running away. Outside, the viewers start whispering that he's getting way too cocky, but the wolf shoots back with a fierce stare like, "I'm starting to like you," while the rest cringe at his taunts. The wolf snaps back, blasting a jet of fire as rage boils over, furious after someone pushed its buttons again. Sekai sprints like his life depends on it, but deep in his heart you can tell he's actually loving every second of this chaos. He says he's angry too now, and they're even. Then, right in the middle of danger, he locks eyes with the wolf, shoots back a shaky smile, and basically admits the beast is really pissed off. Sekai watches the wolf crumple down into a lie-flat and finally settle, like it's clocking out for the day. With a grin, he shrugs and says his first Dan Tuber stream ended in pure chaos, way too unbelievable to fake, yet he shrugs it off like it's nothing, even after starting his adventure on the dungeon's 500th floor, the kind of thing that's never happened before. Chapter 2 begins by highlighting the current location, the dangerous 500th floor of the dungeon. Sekai jolts awake and realizes that the giant wolf has been locked on him for 8 straight hours. Shaken, he yanks out his phone and double-checks the sleep time. Meanwhile, the whole world is glued to the live broadcast, staring in stunned disbelief at just how insane this situation is. Sekai finally realizes the whole world sat there and watched him sleep for 8 whole hours, and with incredulous disbelief, he fires back at the viewers like, "Seriously?" On the other side of the screen, even a national broadcaster is blasting his live stream, so why is he suddenly getting treated like this is some massive national event? Sekai is furious as they air live footage of the moment he was seconds away from dying. They start questioning whether it's even ethical, while everyone back home just watches in silence, because the system automatically slaps a classification warning on screen the moment serious injuries show up. He can't believe it. Back in Japan, they've swapped everything over to magical stones and smartphones, and even the energy problems are finally gone since the last time he was there. Sekai locks eyes with the wolf and snaps at it to stop acting like the dungeon master. Then, with no mercy, he adds that a ton of people have already died in here. The wolf snarls like it's ready to attack, but Sekai doesn't even blink. He fires back with a sarcastic, "So, did you fall for me from all that stalking?" Then someone in the livestream calls it a full-on stalker, and Sekai just laughs, saying that might actually be a brilliant plan. Sekai slams his appraisal ability, and right in front of him that wolf snaps into focus as a one-of-a-kind boss, Sukuru, a level 1240 werewolf. He forces out a nervous smile as the comments scream about the ridiculous gap between them, over 1,000, and he jerks back in shock, a boss with a real name. Sekai's still reeling from everything, but he forces a smile on stream, claiming he's a total rookie who just got teleported out of the first level. He points out that the monsters on the 500th floor are averaging level 68, and says it's the first time he's ever run into a truly unique boss combo. Then he swallows the truth, grimaces, and with a desperate smile admits it. Everything here is too damn strong, and it's over. Sekai forces himself to stay calm, racing through what he should do next, because if he made it to the rest area, then there has to be a way to survive. Getting about quitting altogether. He snaps out of it so fast he realizes, wait, if I do that, I die. He bolts again to escape the wolf, huffing that the viewers are being cruel for pushing him like this, yet he refuses to give up on finding a way out. Even in this safe little spot, Sekai can't shake the fear. Will anyone really come for him? Sure, he can grab food and water to keep breathing, but the real question hits hard. How long will that last? Then it hit him. Waiting for help was a fantasy. He was stuck on the 500th floor where 100,000 people die every single year, and the odds of anyone ever climbing up to rescue him were basically zero. Sekai knows he can't climb those floors without wiping out the wolves, but even with potions in hand, getting crushed is a real, scary possibility. So he snaps and decides he has to get stronger, but he has no clue how until someone tells him to chase a treasure chest. He finds it anyway, and his whole heart prays that something insanely powerful is hiding inside. Sekai's like, no way, that treasure chest can't be real, until a message pops up and shuts it down. Since the wolf's the boss, the chest has to be stuffed with an item. He realizes there's still a shot to flip everything, even if it's only a tiny one. Sekai hates counting on luck, but he admits his choices are thin, so he starts eyeing the idea of hunting a treasure chest, even while he's unsure it even exists. But if he left now, the wolves would tear him apart. Sekai decides to dive into the cave and explore what's waiting in the dark. He can't believe how deep it feels for a rest area, and then boom, he spots a light in the distance, and suddenly he's convinced an important clue is out there. Sekai keeps pushing deeper and spots an even darker slice of the cave with magma roaring at the bottom, yet somehow he thinks it's still better than the monster house, even as he hesitates because he knows this place isn't fully safe. Sekai digs deep into the cave and uncovers a jaw-dropping treasure chest, then erupts in pure, excited celebration. He can't help but get pumped and curious, thinking, could this actually turn out good? And then, with no time to hesitate, he opens it anyway. Right before he cracks open the chest, Sekai's appraisal skill suddenly hits him. It won't work on anything lifeless. He remembers that chilling warning: chests can be monsters wearing a disguise, like the infamous mimics, and he realizes he'll need serious trap detection skills or straight-up clairvoyance to survive it. He decides it's all just rumor, he's heard it secondhand, nothing more. Sekai fears that the chest could be a trap, but his curiosity wins. Then Aragami warns that with everything going on, the monsters might be smart enough to scheme. And yeah, this whole floor is basically the wolf's turf, so even if that chest is a mimic, those other monsters can't just waltz in here. Sekai's still totally lost, but he decides to trust his gut and gets ready to pop that chest open. Sekai pries open the chest while a whole swarm of cameras whirs and captures the moment like it's live on air. He grins, confident and hyped, until he realizes he's trapped inside a glass cell that's sealed around him. Sekai screams as something rips into him straight from his chest, violently exploding the moment. Then the crowd starts cracking jokes, laughing because he always ends up losing his arm in these situations. Aragami snaps that they were outside the wolf's territory, like that magically excuses the trap. Then Sekai erupts in rage because he finally realizes nobody ever cares what he's going through. Sekai clings to survival by a hair, all because that potion costs a whopping $100,000, and Aragami snaps that if the activation hadn't happened through contact, he'd have been dead. But Sekai stays bright and upbeat. He thanks everyone who dropped info in the super chats, and he totally roasts the people who laughed instead of helping. Sekai admits he's almost hit 100 million, but he's got no clue how many potions he'll have to stock up on. Aragami tells him to hit the store first, saying new stuff might have popped up after getting that huge pile of money. Sekai can't help but light up with excitement. Sekai spots it instantly. This shop isn't just selling odds and ends anymore, it's packed with clothes, spices, and even a cauldron. He spots cooking in the dungeon and snaps that he'd never want to do that right now. Then they explain the shop's stock shifts with the person, and your specific wishes decide what shows up. Sekai decides to make that place his base, at least until he wipes out the wolves, because it's way better for living, and when he thinks about cooking, he can't stop worrying about the fire and that magma lurking nearby. But it also hits him, if this is just a dungeon adaptation, then maybe, just maybe, he can survive it. Sekai's eyes light up at the thought of cooking with magma, and he blurts out that he's going to try it, leaving everyone watching stunned and completely confused by the wild switch. Aragami grants him the green light to move with the plan, and Sekai pauses, then wrestles with the choice to cook with magma. He admits it's not about liking it or not being scared, it's because he feels he owes the viewers for all that support, so he pushes himself to keep the content exciting. If everything stayed the same, they'd get bored, and that's why he decides to gamble a little for them. Sekai decided to kick off his magma cooking mission. He started planning to grab food, water, seasonings, and a massive pot. But the moment he spots the pot's price tag, 210,000 yen, his jaw drops, because there's no way something this plain should cost more than a potion that can regrow lost limbs. Sekai studies the prices of water, food, and seasonings, and when he realizes they're pricey, he instantly flips the mindset. Fine, just treat them like tourist attraction prices. Even so, he hesitates for a second, and one of the viewers snaps, calling him a millionaire and accusing him of being stingy. Flushed with embarrassment, he grabs the items anyway and can't help wondering if they'll somehow drop from the sky like those potions. Right after the purchase, the items rain out of the sky, boom, and a frying pan packed with veggies, meat, and seasonings slams onto the ground. Sekai just stares in stunned silence, freezes with a fake smile, and clearly has no clue what on earth to do. Sekai drops to the ground in pure rage as the frying pan smacks his head, and he yells that he didn't order a cooked meal just to end up with raw ingredients. The pan is loaded with meat, onion, carrot, and curry powder, then it hits him hard. With no fire and no proper tools, those ingredients are stuck and he can't cook a thing. Sekai just lies on the ground and grumbles, and a message pops up telling him the dish is a summer veggie curry, made to melt away fatigue. He spots that the pan's dropped into a cauldron, then a whole wok too, and shrugs like it won't matter until he sees the rice floating on its own in the water, and his eyes widen as he realizes this must be dungeon magic. Sekai spots that the spice set comes in tiny jars, so he decides, if he stretches it, he can keep it going for a while, and then he shrugs, says you can still eat rice even with the worst seasonings, and starts cooking like he won't mess up. Since he used the pan like a bowl, he swears he'll go grab a new one later. Sekai grips the brand new pot and can't resist. She tests it right away before she even starts cooking. He's testing whether it can handle the magma. He dropped 210,000 yen on it and fully expects it to last. So as he strides toward the site, he mutters that it'd be maddening to finally start cooking and have the pot give out. Sekai plunges the pot into the magma, firing up the test with pure grit, and he laughs that this challenge is going to test the whole plan, and the meal too. As the pot starts to heat and simmer, he stares like a hawk, waiting to find out will it melt or will it hold strong. Sekai bursts into celebration when the pot survives the magma, shouting that the durability test is officially done, then throws his arms up in pure excitement, ready to cook. Using his wok like a cutting board was totally bizarre. And those measuring spoons that came with the spices, they're coming in clutch and getting used nonstop. Sekai finally finishes prepping the summer vegetable curry, takes one last look, and then lets loose because it's done and it's ready to be served. Because he has no plate, he dives right in and eats straight from the pan, looking completely content as he leans in and shouts "Itadakimasu," then starts chowing down. Sekai takes a bite of the curry and instantly snaps with shock, because wow, it's way too hot. He takes another bite and breaks into a grin. That's delicious. He says it feels like biting into onigiri after a brutal climb, then he remembers he's wrecked and injured from the potions, and decides he has to move right now. As Sekai savors his curry, he spots something wobbling, and for a split second he thinks he's imagining it, until the whole ground starts shaking for real. He swears it must be an earthquake, but then he's like, why isn't he feeling the tremor in his own bones? Spotting a chest nearby, he snaps to attention, senses danger in the air, and bolts toward the next move without wasting a second. Sekai spots magma blasting up right in front of his eyes and his whole body jolts, then he blurts that even with the danger, the view is stunning. But the moment hits him. There's no way this kind of eruption should happen in the damp zone of the 500th floor, so he curses himself for wasting time in a place that's way too unstable. Sekai just stares straight at the eruption, frozen in place, sitting there watching the volcano roar to life and then calmly admitting it's been a good journey. Meanwhile, viewers spam messages, half jokes, half panic, that's not fireworks, and aren't you trying to escape? Sekai swallows hard and hesitates, telling himself he can at least soak in the view before the worst hits. Sekai bows and thanks the meal the old-fashioned way, hands clasped, eyes shut tight, showing deep respect with every beat. Right after that, a fresh message explodes onto the spotlight. He's unlocked a brand new skill, and he didn't even plan it. It happened while he was trying to cook in the middle of full-blown chaos. After stuffing his face and finally catching his breath, Sekai decides it's time to call a serious, strategic meeting. He realizes the monsters on this floor are on another level, strong enough to make even treasure chests feel deadly, so he drops the fight and hunts for a new way to level up. The answer hits fast. He has to learn skills, and yeah, even Origami backs it up, saying mastering abilities is probably the most realistic move. Sekai asks how in the world he can learn new skills, and Origami tells him it might be possible through specific actions, but there's zero guarantee, and most of the time it's just luck deciding your fate. Sekai realizes he's got no choice but to gamble on anything random, yet it still leaves him scratching his head because this explanation feels confusing and all over the place. Sekai admits the skill acquisition info feels kinda blurry, and then he remembers that whole chest incident, swearing he wants to hear battle stories from other adventurers. Then it hits him, where the heck are Yukikaze's comments? He hasn't seen a single one in ages, and panic starts to creep in. But soon his mood flips the second a new message from her lights up his screen, and she tells him, trust her, based on what he's seen before, the resistance system is crazy easy to get. Yukikaze says the heat-resistant skill lets you shove your hand into lava and feel nothing. So Sekai tests it on the spot, and it wrecks him, badly burns and all. Then someone in chat snaps, "Are you actually stupid?" And one more voice snaps that it's so scorching he shouldn't even be feeling it, making it crystal clear he's still got zero resistance. Sekai stares at his burned hand, pain screaming through him, and somehow forces himself to stay calm. He scans the interface and boom, he's just unlocked the pain-resistant skill. Even with the pain screaming through him, he powered through it all thanks to this new skill, and in the chat, people are roasting him like zombie mode, yet they can't deny it. His conviction skill keeps him standing strong no matter what. Sekai nods and confirms Yukikaze was right, then admits it's weird she still doesn't have heat resistance, but he shrugs it off, saying resistance-type skills come with time, so he stays totally calm. Sekai decides to build heat resistance the wild way. He plants his feet straight in the lava. Even while he's screaming that it's unbearable, he bulldozes his plan anyway, calling it resistance as he soaks his feet in magma, and by the end the narrator basically goes, yeah, he's an idiot. While Sekai keeps hammering his training in heat resistance, Yukikaze blurts out, shocked that his feet haven't melted yet. Then Aragami laughs and says he couldn't stay sane in that kind of heat and tells him, if you survive, come join me. With support items stacked around him and lava roaring nearby, Sekai digs in, eyes locked on the danger, because he knows this moment matters. An hour drags by, but Sekai doesn't budge, stubborn as ever, and then he finally sees the reward. The heat-resistant skill snaps onto his status screen. Relief hits hard, joy explodes, and he lets out a victorious shout, yay. Sekai cheers like he just unlocked a cheat code. Now he can grab the lava without instantly turning into toast, unlike before when his arms and legs would char in seconds. He's so hyped he acts like he's transcended humanity, but the comments keep roasting him. Sekai's dead sure his heat resistance will be the key to leveling up, and he's walking into the plan with full confidence. But the stream comments start roasting him in real time, and it becomes painfully obvious nobody's buying this wild idea. Even after all those brutal mistakes, Sekai decides it's time to prove his strategy actually works, so he charges toward the lava with total confidence. He just realized without heat resistance, this brutal heat would have already slammed him to the ground. Sekai tips the blazing contents of the pan straight onto his own chest, grinning like a winner, and swears his plan is flawless until the unexpected hits, snapping his focus instantly. Sekai's jaw drops, his chest takes the magma blast and gets zero damage, and he immediately realizes he's standing inside a magma zone. He probably already has heat resistance, but he doesn't stop. He tries the move again, and you can tell he's betting hard, even admitting he really thought it would work. Sekai couldn't stop thinking about it. He wanted to step up and choose his own path, using his strength instead of waiting for orders. Still, he admits it, his mind is too small for big ideas. So he keeps leaning on the advice from the viewers who stick with him. Sekai stares at the chest with pure suspicion, wondering why it doesn't react when the pan finally presses against it. He decides to try it one more time, hunting for proof it's not a trap, then braces himself as he prepares to open it. Sekai strains to pry the chest open, but it won't budge, so for a second he's left feeling downright foolish. He finally admits to himself that he didn't know enough from the very start, so he had to lean on other people, and deep down, he knows he's still a bit of a fool of an adventurer. As Sekai strains to push his chest forward, his mind races over every choice that led him here. Even when he asks for advice, he still insists on steering the whole decision himself, no scapegoats if things go south. He locks in on what he believes is right, and right then his chest finally starts to move. Sekai drops the chest straight into the lava. At first it looks pointless since the creature shrugs off heat, but then he spots the truth. The monster is sinking, thrashing harder and harder as it slowly starts to drown in the molten fire. Sekai just watches the pan drop into the lava like it's nothing, and then, whoosh, he exhales in pure relief. He stares out at the horizon, calm and unshaken, like he's finally earned his victory. Sekai cheers like crazy after he wipes out the chest monster, tossing it straight into the lava, and then boom, he levels up. He gets emotional and vows he'll never forget Mr. Chest, while on the other side, Aragami and Yukikaze can't stop chiming in like they're loving this weird situation. Sekai can't contain himself, his level rockets from 2 straight to 50, and he proudly shows he's finally sitting at the exact recommended level to take on the dungeon's middle and lower floors. Even with all the progress pushing him forward, those comments slam him back to reality, because if he's going to take on level 1240's wolf, it's still not enough. Even though level 50 is nothing to brag about, Sekai lets himself dream for a moment. Yukikaze smirks that at this level his vision should be so razor-sharp he can almost spot bullets in the air. Sekai beams, says he's grown a bit, and calls Yukikaze a rare, truly special viewer. Yukikaze snaps that something's sitting at Sekai's feet. Then Sekai spots a sticky candy he can't remember seeing before, and his mind starts racing. Did it just show up as a reward for beating the chest monster? Sekai grabs that candy and munches it without a second thought, buzzing with victory, and in the comments everyone erupts, shocked, curious, and desperate to see what he's up to next. It's not a skill ball, those are rare, and he keeps grinning, steady as ever, even after they warn him he might get a stomach ache. With candy still in his mouth, Sekai realizes, too late, that it's a skill ball, a rare monster gift that hands you a skill with one single lick, and he cheers like he just made the perfect move right before some random skill suddenly kicks in. Sekai finally figures out that one single lick is all it takes to trigger the skill, but he's already gobbled every last bit. Meanwhile, Sienna sits in 6th place worldwide, eyes the whole chaos from a distance, and relishes every move he makes. She says she rushed over to see the commotion, and then she grins. Sekai is a seriously interesting boy, while her phone is still up, streaming his live feed. Sekai blurts out, "Wait, can the skill I got really be random and dangerous?" And Sienna just shrugs, says it's usually a total joke of a skill, then bursts into non-stop laughter like the whole thing is hilarious. Right after that, a fresh comment pops up asking if Sekai even knows a skill called Princess, and it's basically a blunt reminder that he's still totally green. Sienna Cuttrell, currently sitting at number 6 in the world, stands alone as the only known woman with an S rank, and people call her Cubohame, the princess beheader, because her axe-made brutality is pure nightmare fuel, slicing heads clean off in brutal clashes. Sekai hears it and suddenly realizes he just got a piece of priceless intel from someone terrifyingly powerful. Sekai, barely recovered, remembers he just hit a whole new level, and he refuses to quit now. Yukikaze shoots him an encouraging message, telling him to stay strong. Then he stops and thinks, yeah, the odds are brutal, but success could still slip in. And with that spark igniting him, he can't wait. He rushes to show off the fresh skills he just pulled from the treasure chest. Sekai realizes he's unlocked a crazy new power, self-sacrifice, where the defense bonuses he earns from leveling don't just boost him anymore. They get turned into pure attack strength, but it comes with a brutal catch. Can't use heavy equipment. He realizes that this skill could supercharge his attacks, and then he's left completely speechless. When he finally clocks the side effect, Sekai freezes, because once he understands the skill, it hits hard. Sure, it wrecks enemies, but the ban on heavy armor nags at him. Is this power really worth the cost? He tries to steel himself, yet that crushed, discouraged look gives him away. He's rattled by the trade-off. Sekai slams onto the ground, seething because that new skill somehow makes him weaker, and he fumes that his life felt doomed from the start, only to get worse now. Still, as he rolls and rages, the comments hit him with the truth. He's alive, he's got potions, and that earlier move wasn't a plan, it was just a desperate last shot. Sekai collapses in exhaustion, flops down to sleep, and mutters that he's already hit his limit. While everyone else glances at the time from wherever they are, some swear it's still noon. He tries to snag new clothes in the system, but exhaustion hits so hard he can't push any further. Another comment pops up asking if Sekai's asleep, and he fires back that he just laid down. A few hours later, Sekai snaps awake and blurts, "Good morning." Even though it's already noon, turns out this is the 3rd day of survival, and despite the pressure hanging over him, a real rest left him feeling way better. As he wipes everything down and gets ready, they lean in and grin like, "Man, you really do sleep like a champion." Now finally rested, Sekai slows down and starts to really think. He realizes the comments aren't coming from random folks at all. They're flooding in from way more skilled players. Yukikaze, Aragami, and even some shadowy mystery figure he can't quite name. Now that he's got this new sight, he can finally make out the comments, no matter how much it wrecks his head. Plus, he sees the comment section is jam-packed with elite connections, where seasoned adventurers trade real talk and deep discussions. Sekai clocks that this mess is way more complicated than it looks, but he refuses to freeze. He still has ideas, and since he needs local intel to craft a real plan, he decides to act solo. With pure determination, he vows to quietly chart the ground around him. Sekai braces his stance and rockets forward to sprint. And with zero hesitation, he launches into a sprint, posture locked in pure determination. But soon the shock hits. Why is he sprinting like that in the first place? And right in the comments, people crack jokes about how his intensity feels way too extreme, like you don't need to rush that hard just to go explore. Sekai jabs a finger at the wall and declares, "This is the wolf's turf," and the memory hits him. One of them stared him down the day before. Even though he can't see a thing right now, he bolts ahead anyway, just to stay ahead of trouble and not get caught off guard. And in the comments, the whole world erupts, with people calling it reckless overexertion while others admire the grit, and the rest mock him to his face. Sekai tells you that when you're running from enemies, you've got to map every turn so you don't get trapped in a dead end, and he learned that the hard way from a top-tier adventurer, so now he's using that wisdom and leaning on everyone else's intel to stay alive. Even though he leans on them, he still pulls his weight by charting the route, and then he drops the real bombshell at the end. He's running out of supplies, so he's basically begging you to help. Sekai realizes he's been stubbornly trying to draw the map by hand, then immediately decides, why fight it, he'll just snap a photo from up high. He's annoyed he wasted time on pointless notes, and he's already bracing for the comments to roast him, but he pushes through anyway, puts in the real work, and tries to make up for every mistake. Sekai clambers up to the highest spot and just stares. This view blows them away. He snaps a picture, and when he realizes he can actually see the terrain, from the lava down to even a couple of wolves, his excitement explodes. Sekai realized something terrifying. Because he could see the wolves from above, the wolves could see him just as clearly. The moment it hits him, panic detonates in his chest. Now he's fully caught in the monster's unblinking stare. As the wolf's attack barrels toward him, time feels like it's freezing. He can't help but think, is this that infamous moment where everything slows down? And with the hit coming any second, fear hits hard. Is this it? Am I finally going to die? The protagonist stands his ground as a brutal energy mass barrels toward him, and when the explosion erupts right in front of his face, he doesn't flinch, just stares into it in deadly calm, like he's finally ready for whatever hits next. The creature's attack whips past the protagonist at the last second, barely missing him, who suddenly gets hit with shock. Someone says it was pure luck, but Sienna snaps back, "This isn't luck, it's something more," and Aragami backs her up instantly. And Yukikaze jumps in again, reminding everyone that the wolf's power doesn't just grow, it ramps up with the player's level. Aragami blurts that Sekai actually tracked the fireball's path and nimbly dodged it, while everyone else stares in shock, wondering how he pulled off a move this advanced, and suddenly the whole scene ignites with even more curiosity. Sekai barely dodges in the nick of time. This attack almost smashes him. Still, his arm gets scorched. Heat resistance and the pain-resistant skills he picked up earlier keep him from feeling a thing until he tumbles into a cauldron while scrambling to recover. A wolf slips back into view, snarling like it's about to strike again. Sekai feels the danger slam into him and bolts without even a second thought. As he pulls back, he decides to slam the brakes on the exploration for now, and sprint back to the cave for safety. As Sekai rushes back to the cave, he realizes the wolf already saw it coming. Now it's standing in the entrance, blocking his way. With a shaky grin, Sekai lets out a tense nod, acknowledging just how crafty the enemy really is. Sekai spots it. The wolf straight up blocked the cave entrance. He realizes the thing had watched him sleep there earlier, clocked it as his safe haven, and then sat there waiting like a trap set just for his return. Sekai admits he's clueless, then tries to shrug the blame onto everyone else, like it's their problem to figure it out. He snaps that everyone keeps underestimating him, calls him naive, and when he presses, "Do you even know that?" he gets a solid, "Yeah, I'm sure." Sekai makes it clear, no matter what happens, even if he dies, the final responsibility stays on his shoulders, so everyone else can throw out ideas without fear or guilt. Even with that carefree vibe, he still shows real integrity, and it shocks the viewers who thought he'd never care. In the end, he throws his arms up in pure excitement, tells everyone his fate is in the viewers' hands, and then, boom, comments start rolling in like, "This guy's a total problem." Yukikaze hands Sekai a map of the area Sekai has already cleared, cut and pasted from scraps, then tells him to fill in the gaps himself. Stunned by how spot-on and useful it is, Sekai blurts, "Are you a god?" Sekai finally confirms it. Yukikaze really did send that map, and he's blown away that the details got logged straight onto the dungeon phone. Even better, it shows his own location in real time, which is pure gold in a place like this. Then Aragami chimes in, saying this all lines up with the phone's auto-mapping system, and the whole thing suddenly feels way more insane than they expected. Sekai thanks the viewers, gives a shout-out to Aragami and Sienna for the help, and vows he'll do everything he can not to get beaten by Yukikaze. Meanwhile, the comments go wild over Yukikaze. People are praising the map she sent like it's pure genius. People are shocked to find out Yukikaze sits at rank B because with how much she's accomplished, there's barely any info about her at all. Sekai glares at Yukikaze, her distrust screaming, and blurts, "Wait, who are you, Yukikaze?" Next, Yukikaze strides in with iron confidence, staring down two massive beasts in a colossal hall, radiating an eerie, overwhelming power. Yukikaze coldly glares at the beasts and snaps that they're just nuisances. With one lightning-fast motion, it all happened. She slams down the wind sickle spell, and razor-sharp wind blades tear through the enemies in a violent frenzy. Yukikaze ends the assault and watches the fallout with a ruthless, icy stare. She checks the device and snaps 60 floors up right inside the Tokyo dungeon, but in the dead quiet she mutters, "It's still not enough." And seals the truth that she's already gone this far, proving her journey isn't anywhere close to ending. Yukikaze watches everything with a grim face, then admits it all happened because of her, Sakai Kautoba, a talented rookie. He was tossed alone into the lethal 60th floor, something nobody had ever done before. With regret burning in her chest, she remembers she only joked when she told him to step into the teleportation circle, and now she can't stop wondering why he actually listened. A suited man leans in and tells her Yukikaze is the only one in Japan who can hit that level. And since she wants it kept under wraps, he says permission has already been granted to fake a live stream account, then vows he'll do everything he can to draw attention away from it. Meanwhile, Yukikaze stays silent as the narration hypes her as pure top-tier S rank. Kazama Yukinasama, yes, that one, is standing there in dead silence, and the narration basically screams, "You're kidding, right?" And S rank barely moves, because the fact that she's still this perfectly is the real proof of how terrifyingly powerful and mysterious she is. Yukon watches from a distance, jaw tight with the weight of what she has to protect, knowing that once you step into a dungeon, it's the adventurer who takes the. Sakai only stepped into the teleportation circle because she said something, and she quietly admits it. This mess is on her, and she knows it. Sekai bursts on a live broadcast, grinning wide as he thanks Yukikaze for the map she just made. Then he says this will help them a ton and vows to keep exploring until every blank spot on the map is gone. Meanwhile, Yukikaze shoots her a determined look, and in the quiet he vows, if he's going to do this, then she'll pour everything she's got, too. Yukikaze watches Sekai from afar, stunned by how boldly and determinedly he tackles every single thing, so much so that she swears it's that same positivity that keeps pulling her through, even as she realizes she can't just rely on him. She has to move herself, and with that, Yukikaze rises to her feet, eyes locked and unwavering. She steals her heart and swears she'll finally make it, then whispers, "Wait for me, Sekai." Alone in the empty corridor, Yukikaze stares forward with a trembling resolve and thinks, "Please, let me save him." And the second the weight of it hits her, she knows this time it's her turn to pay back everything Sekai has done for her. While the wolf guards the cave entrance, the protagonist breaks away and paces the nearby area to finish mapping it all. While he's exploring, he stumbles on a treasure chest, only to find it blazing like it's been set on fire, and that chaos leaves him rattled, confused, and scared. The protagonist slams the last details onto the map while that wolf still snarls and blocks the cave entrance. Once the exploration was done, they only had one thing left to do: charge back to the very start. The wolf's right there waiting in silence, and the pressure keeps climbing as you think, okay, what do we do now? The boy comes back from exploring and his stomach drops because the wolf is still parked in front of the resting room entrance in the exact same spot, refusing to budge. He digs into the item box and pulls out the exact creation he made the day before, ready to put his plan in motion. Before he even dares to move, he chugs a potion, necking every drop exactly like the instructions he got. The boy stares down the wolf and steels himself, then the moment it hurls that predictable fireball, he snaps into action and fires back with the same deadly intensity. The boy blocks the blow with a makeshift shield. He grips a paper broom like it's his wall of steel. To his shock, the barrier slammed through the blast of fire and actually held, leaving him staring in disbelief like it shouldn't have worked. Even with his hands burning, the boy clings to his focus like nothing can shake him. He charges straight into the fireball, refusing to back down, so hard the wolf hesitates mid-attack. Now he sprints with pure determination, pushing closer and closer, because he's got to strike with his next move and that hidden bottle is ready to go. As the wolf charges another fireball, the boy sprints at full speed. Right before the trigger is pulled, he tightens his grip, winds up to hurl the bottle, and stakes everything on his strategy. A bottle rockets into the wolf's face and steals its focus in an instant. Liquid splashes out, blindsiding the beast because it never saw that kind of hiding spot coming. Sekai pounced on the wolf's daze, tore off into the shadows without a single glance, and grinned, because for the first time he actually had a shot at escaping. While the wolf recovers, irritated and snorting right behind him. Sekai slips away from the wolf and finally exhales in relief, telling everyone he hit it with pepper right when it reacted like a dog. He knew it worked, so he throws together gyoza for a victory dinner, grinning like he just won the whole battle. Sekai admits he threw an empty potion bottle packed with pepper at the wolf, and though he wasn't sure it'd work, he's thrilled it did. Then he sits there eating peacefully while everyone labels him malicious. But he shoots back straight up saying, "You've gotta eat, otherwise you can't keep going." Sekai points out that potions can mend your body, but you still can't survive without food, clothes, and shelter. Then, out of nowhere, he announces he wants to take a bath. Before he even steps into the dungeon, he can't stop remembering how he used to bathe twice a day. Then panic hits. What if I stink? Until the thought lands that he's alone and his worry instantly melts away. Sekai starts daydreaming about leaping into the lava just to get a bath, but his own conscience snaps him back to reality fast. He imagines boiling water in a pot, but in the end he still craves a real bath. Sweat's pouring off him just standing there, and he's grumbling that he can't take a bath or even sleep, but deep down, he knows things could be way worse. Even though Sekai admits the wolf is deadly, those fireballs are no joke. He's convinced its moves are predictable, so he starts picturing the whole stream like it'll go viral, then decides to march straight in and climb up for the showdown. Meanwhile, the comments torch his confidence and shove his skill gap in his face. Sekai yanks 2 mysterious potions from his item box and mutters that there's no way he can't figure out how to use them. Even with all that confidence, the comments rip into him for being reckless, basically screaming, "You don't even know if those potions work." And yet, he goes for it anyway, curiosity burning in his chest, zeroing in on what's inside. Sekai cracks one of the mysterious potions and takes a sip. He takes one bite and instantly regrets it. The taste is vile and he squirms like he wants to yank himself out of that moment, begging for anywhere else. Still, he realizes that this bad taste almost feels like it's healing his body until it hits him. It's basically poison, and the comments are roasting him like he's one sip away from dying. Sekai downs yet another potion and swears it doesn't taste poisonous at all. As he sits there replaying it all, a viewer's comment slams into his mind, like even the harmless stuff can cut you deep. It hits him that stuff that looks dangerous might actually be harmless, and he realizes he's been making his moves off random chat opinions. Sekai shrugs and says, "If it's poison, I'll just pop another potion," but the system snaps back. Those potions won't fix status effects. Still, he figures the first one didn't hurt him, so the second has to be poisonous, and if it's strong enough, he might even turn it into a weapon against the wolf. The very next day, Sekai slams into the wolf again, and then someone blurts out a plan: shove the substance straight into its mouth. But he fires back, "No, that's not the plan." Then he leans in and says he needs to confirm something first. Sekai stays deadly quiet as he crafts his plan. He lets that wolf sink its teeth into his arm, mixing it with the mysterious potion. Also, it'll hit the enemy where it hurts. Sekai calmly steps up to the wolf, arms stretched out like a decoy, convinced it'll bite him there, because in every fight it's always attacked first. Even though this whole plan sounds insane, he still dares the monster, holding out his arm as bait to provoke it. Sekai holds his arm out, flashing a calm, unshaken smile like he's got everything under control. He locks eyes with the wolf's gaping mouth, smirking like he's got it all under control, because he's literally one step from getting bitten. The wolf snaps onto Sekai's arm, sinking its teeth in. Sekai gulps in shock as the plan clicks into place, because the wolf doesn't just take a bite, it swallows the potion exactly like he predicted. Sekai stands there watching the wolf chew like it's perfectly calm, his hand still wrapped around that mysterious potion, jaw clenched as he holds his breath, praying the poison finally kicks in. Then bit by bit the wolf's gaze shifts, like trouble is already crawling into its eyes. The wolf starts violently shaking, its mouth flooding with thick drool, and it writhes in brutal pain. Sakai stares in disbelief as the poison hits like a lightning strike. This potion is brutally real, and yeah, his plan totally worked. Sakai stares at the outcome, breathless with relief and still stunned out of his mind, because he can't believe the wolf actually swallowed the trap. He figured if it was poison, the monster would sniff it out in seconds, yet it didn't, and now he's gripping his injured arm, shocked he's still alive. Sakai's plan worked right on the money. The wolf crumpled on the ground, poisoned, and he just stared, stunned at how ridiculously easy it all was. And even then, Sakai couldn't help feeling a little let down by how simple the win turned out. Sakai stares at the wolf's crushed body, then scrolls through the viewers' comments, and it feels like they're laughing at him to his face. Still, he forces his mind to stay sharp and locks onto the next move. Sakai stares at the fallen wolf, clocks that it's still breathing because it hasn't vanished, and then he starts wondering, would the poison be enough to finish it off? But he can't even tell what that creature's feeling just by staring at it, and then someone blurts out, use a skill to check its remaining HP, until Sakai shakes his head and admits he can only read its name and species, so his options are basically gone. Sakai jolts when he spots the wolf still awake, then scrambles to rise, because when it can still move after swallowing the poison, panic hits him like a truck. Sakai's blood turns to ice as he sees the wolf rise to its feet, and screams burst out of him. Instead of lunging, the wolf whips around and stumbles off, and Sakai, completely thrown, comes sprinting after it, blurting out, "Where are you going?" While everyone online tears into Sakai's moves, Aragami steps in flat out defending him and claiming those choices were the right call. The wolf, poisoned and barely holding on, is still upright, but it's wobbling, staggering as the poison creeps deeper through its body, spreading inch by inch. Aragami tells Sakai point blank, this is the only moment where he can actually beat it. Sakai drives forward, buzzing with excitement, while the superiors dissect his move. One of the women even swears instinct guided him into the best possible call, and Yukikaze nods, saying it's a razor-smart play considering everything that's already happened. But even with all those heavy compliments hanging in the air, Sakai's not dwelling on any of it, he's just charging ahead on pure impulse. Sakai bolts the second the poisoned wolf lunges after him, knowing the resting area is the one place he might be safe. But he snaps into action and bolts without thinking, convinced that one reckless choice just rewrites his fate. Yeah, it's exhausting getting dragged into messes like this, but he wouldn't trade it for anything. Sakai studies the map, locks in his choice, and blurts out that he's going to move. No details, no explanation, just pure action. While everyone doubts his motives, he just shrugs and says, watch, locked in and 100% certain of what he's about to pull off. Sakai charges the wolf straight on, standing his ground with a steady smile. With pure confidence, he beckons the monster closer and fires back with a razor-sharp glare, swearing he'll crush it just by staring it down. The wolf lunges at Sakai with pure rage, but Sakai stays ice-calm, then flashes a smile like he's already won. With a sharp twist of irony, he praises the monster, grinning as he tells it it's a good wolf for leaping right at him. Sakai taunts the wolf, then glides backward across the floor, straight into the maneuver, while the wolf drops right where he was standing, stunned that it happened. Sakai grins like the plan totally worked, then he yells at the wolf, calling it an idiot as it drops straight into the magma, and he laughs that monsters who lose their minds and judgment end up acting just like beasts. With a grin, he points it out, then finishes, certain as ever, this is exactly what he wanted, to drop that wolf straight into the lava. Sakai finally clocks it, and before he can breathe, the wolf yanks him straight into the magma. Shock and terror hit at once, and when he spots that monster's tail latched onto him, he lets out a full scream. And yeah, Sakai tries to keep his cool, but it's obvious both of them are about to crash down together. The wolf hurls him straight into the magma, and as he plummets in pure panic, someone snaps that he shouldn't get so hyped. Sienna even points out he fell in just 2 frames, and Aragami fires back, saying he'll burst out laughing if Sakai is still alive. As he crashes through the air, the protagonist stares straight into his own disaster and grimly realizes this. Even when trouble hits, his mind never quits. But admits it changes nothing. Then he finally confesses that calling it quits just means he's staring at his own limits, unable to bend the course of fate. The protagonist keeps plummeting, mind spinning as he realizes he could think himself in circles forever, and it still wouldn't change a thing. As he plunges, he realizes he can't just go down quietly, he needs to make a move. In his hand, a cell phone is still there, like a last spark of chance to act before everything slips away. Still tumbling out of the sky, the protagonist clenches his teeth and shouts for power, desperate, shaking, but determined, and he somehow summons a spell or skill as a shape starts to form right in front of him. He lunges and grabs it mid-fall, straining with sheer focus, trying to wrestle control back and claw his way out before the crash finishes him. After everything he tried to survive, he finally drops, and this time he's not totally out of it. Scraped hands and aching limbs tell the truth, but he lets out a breath of relief first until he realizes survival comes with a price. One character watches him like he's both impressed and kind of cracking up, calling his moves amazing yet a little comical. And as the crew digs into the details, the whole scene turns with this ironic, teasing kind of humor. The protagonist finally saw the whole picture come into focus. He stares at the lava swirling beneath him, mutters that the bottom is way shallower than he thought, then a creature pops up and goes, "So you're calling yourself shallow?" with pure sarcasm. The protagonist stares at the blazing creature and instantly gets it. It's built different, so it's not scared of the lava at all. Then he worries the fall might have hurt it, but the next second he realizes it isn't even moving toward him. So he finally decides this is his shot to get to solid ground, quiet, safe, and careful, moving slow to dodge any more trouble. The protagonist squints at the creature, snaps that it's a wolf, and lets out a frustrated huff at how recklessly it moves. He tries to lift the mood, calling it brave and insisting there's still time to carry on. Then he can't help but wonder how anyone's supposed to cheer for a creature trapped in a mess like this. Yet he forces himself to stay positive anyway, frustration and encouragement tangled together in the same breath. Now this protagonist squares up to the heartless crowd, cracking jokes like his life being on the line is no big deal, because he's still going to push through with his mission, even if nobody's watching. Heart-pounding, he says he's ready to roll for the scaffolding operation, tension screaming in his chest, but his tone staying cool. Then he lights up about being a novice, like he's treating this brutal new challenge with surprising lightness. The protagonist surges ahead, leaping over the floating pans like they're stepping stones, fighting to stay upright across the blazing lava surface. He nearly wipes out, but he keeps charging while the flaming wolf barrels in behind them, hot on their heels. He guzzles a potion mid-run to fend off the brutal heat, and he can't help but buzz with excitement as the exit gets closer. Still, the wolf won't quit. It keeps sprinting after him, refusing to let him breathe. With only one last jump between him and freedom, the protagonist braces for the final dash. The protagonist launches his final leap onto solid ground, grinning as he knows he pulled off the escape. Right at the last second, he misjudges it and plunges straight into the lava. As he drops, he cracks jokes mid-fall about why he lost, death by dive. And while it all happens, the wolf just watches from the background like it's nothing. Right when the hero is seconds from dropping into the lava, the wolf behind him rockets forward with a brutal leap, and boom, a massive explosion erupts. The blast rockets the protagonist straight into solid ground, and he spins there, shocked by the twist. Then he laughs and credits the wolf's help, even while knowing it wasn't meant at all. The protagonist hits the ground, battered and scraped from the impact, while the comments on screen rake him over the coals, snickering about how he got flung like that. He grumbles that the crowd keeps laughing at his misery, even after everything he's survived. Then he straightens up with an outraged so-fake grin and a twinkle in his eyes, refusing to let the hardship crush his spirit as he pushes forward. The protagonist stares, stunned, as the wolf steps forward onto solid ground and keeps moving like it's got a mission, again and again. He scrambles for answers, blaming madness or the poison, even as he fires off a bitter joke about how blurry his vision has become. At last he gets it, standing still is pointless, so he decides to bolt as fast as he can. The protagonist squares up to the wolf and refuses to bolt. Sure, he couldn't drown it in the lava, but now he can feel something inside him shift for good. That experience hit him hard, and now he's done backing down, weapon in hand. He braces for whatever's next and marches forward on sheer courage, staring the wolf straight in the eyes to prove he'll fight. He braces to strike, fixes on the creature's eyes, and swears they're the key target, right where the brain connects. Even if his words don't sound comforting, the protagonist grips his sword like it's the only thing keeping him standing, thinking hard about what's happening. He admits he only ran to buy time, but now he knows the truth. If he wants to get back home, he can't hesitate. With real-life memories pounding in his head and chaos spilling through his thoughts, he finally realizes one thing: hiding won't save him anymore. With that, he charges ahead, yanking the wolf's attention as he commands it to follow. With sword grip tight, the protagonist charges straight at the wolf, refusing to let the chase end on anything but his terms. He ends their tag like game S over, and now he's done playing. The protagonist rockets forward at full speed, slamming into the wolf and ending the chase for good, sword up, eyes locked, pure determination pouring off him. The wolf snarls and charges right back, so when they meet, it's non-stop impact, right into the climax where they're about to collide. Right when everything hits its breaking point, the hero whips out a special card and the wolf freezes. Then he steps forward with a smug little smile, like he's just realized the beast isn't random at all, it's running a set pattern. Once it clicks, his panic vanishes and he takes control of the whole fight. The protagonist squares up to the wolf and bluntly says, "We're both tied up," since neither one looks hurt, then grips his weapon tight and fights to stay balanced in the chaos. As he charges forward, the wolf slams into him, flinging him with brutal force clear across the battlefield. As he rockets through the air, he laughs and cracks jokes, even admitting with a grin that the wolf is completely right, because there wasn't a tie anywhere, not even a hint. The protagonist gets slammed into a wall so hard he basically glues himself to it, and the crowd jeers, calling him wall art like he's officially fused to the architecture. Some people are laughing while others fake concern, and he tries to respond, still half frozen, dazed, wondering if this is even comedy anymore after all this violence. Shoved into the wall after the hit, the protagonist spits out that he would have died if he hadn't gulped those potions in time, but just like that, he shakes it off, recovers fast, and grins through the chaos. Right after that, he jumps up with a grin and blurts that he's good now, so the next move is crystal clear, and you can tell he's ready to charge forward again with fresh confidence. After he finally regains himself, the protagonist admits he's mentally drained from everything he's survived and can't even map out his next move, so he turns to the viewers and asks for ideas straight up, hoping they'll help him find the path forward. But the comments don't really team up with him, they just tell him to think for himself, and that doesn't stop him at all. He keeps his good spirits up and goes right on trying to hook the audience. The protagonist grabs everyone's attention like a spotlight, trying to look dead serious, but his goofy, caricatured face undercuts it, and you can practically hear the viewers whispering, "Wait, does he even look like he needs help?" Still, the analysis team looks like they're about to finish. Then a new figure bursts in, panicking, "I'm late," and just like that, a fresh ally shows up to throw their weight behind the chaos. The protagonist gets a message from Marigami, she's done the analysis, and boom, she's cracked the wolf's weakness, too. Relief and wild excitement hit him so hard it feels like a savior just burst onto the scene. The comments explode the moment the analysis team finally arrives, and the protagonist even cranks up his reactions way over the top. Promising to lick Aragami's shoes to get help, he bursts with excitement and reads the offer to join the guild, hope and confidence hitting him like a spark. Aragami lays it all out about the wolf. This isn't just any beast, it's the searing wolf, packed with magic and fiction-level composition that shrugs off most attacks, so the only opening is right when you get direct physical contact. And the protagonist, thrilled and ready, jumps at the chance to join the guild while viewers crack jokes like, "Just hit it with the walk," keeping the mood light even with danger breathing down their neck. With the analysis backing the plan like a lock, the protagonist goes all in on the walks, telling everyone, "Just grab a bunch and hurl them at the enemy." With a dramatic flick, he calls the pans down from the sky and they start dropping fast. In the crowd, the comments clash between "What is happening?" and "We got you," but one thing stays clear. Even if it sounds totally insane, that walk has always been waiting for him when life gets brutal. The protagonist replays every brutal thing he survived in the dungeon and remembers that the walk has never left him, standing through the scorching heat and even through the hunger it finally helped him satisfy. For him, this walk isn't just movement, it's a loyal partner that shields and keeps him going, and now, even when a savage wolf comes for him, he's convinced that side by side they'll beat this challenge. Once again, the protagonist charges straight at the wolf and calls it, politely but firmly, "Mr. Wolf," because even if it looks worn out, that beast still fights with an incredible strength of spirit. Clutching his grip and standing his ground, the protagonist squares up to the wolf and snaps that he knows exactly what it's trying to pull. Then, even as the enemy closes in, he stays ice calm, insisting he's fine, and that at this range the wolf can't fire off some long-distance fireball utensil poised in hand as he urges it to calm down. The protagonist grips his stance like he's about to swing for a home run, fists set and walk unwavering, eyes locked with pure determination, while the crowd erupts with excited comments, cracking jokes and cheering him on like they're part of the at-bat too. When the wolf explodes forward with raw power, he doesn't freeze, he snaps into a counterattack. This is the turning point. a face-to-face clash where improvisation fights back against sheer ferocity. The protagonist snaps the attack aside with a sharp, calculated step. To his total shock, he actually lands a hit on the wolf and breaks something, stunned and buzzing with excitement. Then he blurts out in pure joy because he realizes his attack did real damage. Spotting the opening at last, the protagonist locks onto it with steely confidence and snaps, "I was ready the whole time." When the wolf strikes again, he snaps back with raw power, driving his steps forward like every ounce of strength matters. Then he yells, "Take that," and charges the fight head-on, proving he's finally got control and won't hesitate. The protagonist's strike lands clean and the wolf yelps, recoiling hard and stumbling for a beat. Then he grins because there's blood, even if it's just a little, and that means he's actually getting somewhere. The crowd explodes with comments telling him to strike now, to grab this opening, and with wide, shocked excitement on his face, he finally clicks. He's really hurting it, and victory might be right there. The protagonist lunges in with everything he's got, slamming forward for the final attack, driven by pure grit and unshakable resolve. The wolf, furious, bleeding, and terrified, lets out a desperate scream, and the comments swear the attacks are finally hitting home. Believing he's seconds from victory, the protagonist roars, "This is the last one," and dumps every last ounce of energy into ending the fight for good. The protagonist, already sure he's won, roars to the world with ironclad confidence, "It's over." But the very next second, the wolf snaps into a hard stare, its eyes blazing with raw power, proving it's not done yet. The whole vibe snaps into something darker, like the fight still isn't finished, and the real ending might be waiting around the corner. The protagonist just stares, totally lost, as everything around him shifts and the world starts transforming while he freezes in his tracks. He has zero clue what's about to hit him. In the middle of the chaos, his thoughts start slipping away. Only one thing screams in his mind: this is absolutely not going to end well. His thoughts instantly drop out like a switch flipped, like something unknown just opened its door, and it might be way more dangerous than he ever expected. The protagonist jolts awake on the cold ground, battered and spent, but miraculously still alive. Meanwhile, his stream gets slammed with donations and non-stop excited comments, like the whole thing's a massive show meant for everyone to watch. Still dazed, he finally registers what he just pulled off, cornering a raging wolf with nothing but his own stride, even while pain screamed through his body, realizing he'd just accomplished something truly insane. After the battle, the protagonist is utterly shattered, sprawled on the ground, drenched in brutal pain, gasping for air with arms and legs that refuse to work. Even as confusion and weakness swarm his thoughts, and he fights to piece together what he was doing before everything blurs, his body failing and his mind scrambled as he struggles to stay conscious under the crushing weight of what he just survived. Even with wounds tearing at him and his whole body shaking, the protagonist grits his teeth and drags his arms forward, because if he doesn't gulp a potion right now, death is coming. With sheer willpower, he claws his way toward the bottle as cheers batter him into action, urging him to rise. Then, inch by inch, his mind comes back, and at last he stretches far enough to grab the one thing that can save his life. The protagonist snaps awake, mumbling that he blacked out for a while, trying to piece it all together. Yet the comments don't clear anything up, they just insist he got blasted miles away and hit the ground like a truck. Still not getting it, he asks what's going on, and by the time the super chat alerts start popping up, he's more confused than ever, plus quietly embarrassed by how way too affectionate they sound. The protagonist gets slammed into a rock, rebounds fast, and shoots out a grateful thanks for saving his head, while the wolf keeps unleashing some wild move that churns out brutal shock waves. The boy snaps to the horror of it. He lost his way, so he grabs the moment, hunts down his location first, and strikes out of nowhere, laughing at how pathetic he is since the enemy has totally stopped paying attention to him. The boy, used to every punch that landed on him, rips through the pain anyway, pumps himself up, and even jokes that he almost prefers dogs. Yeah, this time it's a monster wolf. He still remembers when he hurled the wok at the enemy, and guilt hits him hard. Still, he flashes a grin and swears he'll blow it away next time, confident as ever, trust the wok. The boy finally tracks the wolf down again. He spots the flames around the monster vanish, and he knows it. Those sparks were the creature's strength, and now it's fading fast. The boy lunges at the wolf with a homemade bottle packed with explosive spices, pepper, mustard, and capsicum powder, and since the wolf has no clue he's there, he snaps into action. But even when the blast lands, the wolf still only stutters in brief confusion. The wolf blasts a roaring fireburst straight at the boy. He jolts with shock and snaps at the creature for what it's doing. Even after the attack, he forces himself to stay calm, tells the wolf not to act like that again, and then realizes every time he speaks, the wolf somehow triggers another fireball. The boy sprints in panic and screams, "No!" as the earth right in front of him detonates, and when he stares, stunned at what just happened, memories slam into him of a girl on the couch, eyes locked on the TV, hands clenched so tight it looks like she's torn between cheering and terrified for him. The boy stares in sheer shock at the massive crater ahead, punched straight into the ground by a direct hit, and he can't stop wondering if this is the same blast that flung him away before, because the shockwave looks like it's driving right for him. In the deep hole, magma bubbles up and he's left guessing, was that magic or was it a meteor strike? Behind him, the wolf keeps its eyes locked on that spot like it's measuring every second. While the boy scrambles to make sense of everything, he stares at the other players' messages where they dissect the wolf's attack like it's a puzzle. Some swear it's invisible magic, others claim it's gravity messing with the world, and a few insist the howl whipped up a brutal windburst. But no matter how loud the theories get, he's completely scrambled, unable to think clearly, because the wolf is still right there, looming and poised to hit back again. The wolf finally stops fooling around and unleashes non-stop shockwaves, blasting Sakai into a desperate sprint just to dodge the hits, so brutal that even the other players are calling it merciless. Sakai can barely keep up, and the viewers are already bracing for the moment he won't walk out of this in one piece. Sakai bolts away in a panic from the level 1024 wolf, thinking there's nothing left he can do. He's about to give in until he suddenly screams, "I'm not done." As the monster bears down, he taps the plan he's been honing in silence and throws everything he's got into that last, game-changing move. Sakai squares up to the wolf and loudly declares that the final battle for the lower levels is about to begin, standing right on the rim of the massive crater smashed open by the last attacks, while the wolf eyeballs him with sharp caution. And in the chat everyone's freaking out, convinced whatever he's about to do is pure danger. Sakai stumbles down the crater slope again, summoning the walk with sheer defiance, because this time he's choosing to hurl himself straight into the lava. The crowd gasps like he's lost his mind, yelling that there's no escape from here. Even when Sakai's totally thrown off, he hesitates. Meanwhile, the wolf just hangs above, glaring down, and Aragami can't stop himself from finding the whole thing insanely fascinating. Sakai slumped at the bottom of the crater, locked eyes with the wolf looming above him, and when he imagined a fireball landing, he figured it was game over. But then his thoughts snapped into place. That disaster only mattered if he were the wolf. That thought sparks something new in his head, and he starts shaping the next idea. Sakai finally admits the truth. He was obsessed with taking down the wolf head-on, and he totally misjudged how it fought. Even when fireballs were already ripping danger into the air, the wolf still barreled straight forward, attacking like it couldn't be deterred. Now Sakai's eyes sharpen. He's starting to read the pattern, and he's about to roll out a brand new plan. Using the wolf's own vicious instincts against it, Sakai charges straight at the beast, locking eyes with the pride that makes it want to kill him. No hesitation, no mercy. Then he realizes that same pride is what drives the wolf to strike without thinking. So Sakai seizes the opening, kicks his movement back into play, and gambles everything on this one instant. Sakai slings water straight at the wolf and boom, a blinding explosion tears through the air. He explains that eruptions can kick off when lava crashes into underground water. He figured it out from something he watched, and now he uses that trick mid-fight, shocking even the wolf to its core. Sakai breaks it down. His plan was dead simple. He grabbed drinking water on impulse, then said a prayer, and as a humanities student he admits he didn't even know the exact amount to use. So yeah, he's banking on luck. Once all that water vanishes at the same time and there's nowhere to run, he can only pray the blast hits exactly like he planned. A brutal blast erupts out of nowhere, steam blasting upward under crushing pressure, and then someone jerks in shock. Wait, is that a phreatomagmatic eruption? An explosion sparked when magma slams into water. It's been 24 hours since Sakai and the wolf got blasted into the sky and ripped apart, yet there's still zero sign of him. The crowd mourns like he's gone for good, then a stone starts to shift, signaling something is about to crawl out. Sakai bursts back into the sky at breakneck speed, fist raised and eyes locked on the mission. Then he slams down onto the ground with a thunderous impact, proving he survived the explosion and refusing to stop now. Sakai touches down in style, feeling totally reborn after clawing his way through that deadly explosion. He spots his dungeon smartphone still intact and relief hits him hard. Now he can jump right back into the stream. Sure, he freaked out when he got flung so far, but now he grins and can't wait to see how the livestream is going. Sekai bursts back into the livestream, all fired up, throwing a victory pose as he rips through thanks for the insanely huge comments and super chats he got. Yes, even one for a staggering 100 million, and then he freezes, shocked by just how much Yukikaze actually donated. Then the chat explodes with "How did he survive all of that?" and even he looks shaken, starting to wonder what the heck really happened. Sekai starts laying out what went down before the explosion, then he slams the replay scene onto the screen for everyone to see back when nothing had exploded yet. He gulped down a purple potion. So yeah, turns out that's what kept him breathing, even after everything that came crashing down afterward. Sekai admits he chugged the purple potion even though it tasted like pure misery, like it came straight out of a cursed treasure chest. Then boom, every wound and all that brutal fatigue vanished fast as if time snapped backward and his body got restored to peak condition. Sekai admits he chugged that purple potion on a gamble and Aragami fires back. This isn't just healing, it rebuilds even fatal wounds, stronger than temple-level resurrection items. Sienna blurts out that if he'd brought it up to the surface, they would have snatched it for sure, and Sekai's jaw drops when he finally realizes the potion really is exactly that powerful. Sekai won't say it out loud, but everyone's whispering. If you show up with something powerful enough to rewrite the laws of physics, the association could squeeze you for everything you've got, or worse, send assassins straight after you. He claims that's why he always hawks the items straight to the association, so he dodges all the drama. Then, because of that insanely weird item he scored, he somehow lived through it, and he ends with a grin. Feels so good to be alive. Sekai tells them that even though he survived the explosion, the fall shattered him completely. For once, his whole body felt wonderfully right, yet it still made him blink in disbelief. It took him a while to gulp another potion and get back on his feet, so he apologizes for the delay, brushes off the curious remarks, and declares, "All right, it's my turn." Sekai yells that the explosion went off exactly there, then the entire field, including Wolfkun, gets obliterated. He bids the wolf farewell, tells it to rest in peace, and keeps walking because deep down he'd felt this coming from experience, and now he's finally certain. Wolfkun is truly gone. Sekai spots something on the ground and rockets toward it, grinning. It's his walk. Even after the explosion left everything else in ruins, this one survived untouched, so he cheers and calls it his loyal partner. And they swear they'll keep fighting side by side, doing their best together, starting right now. Sekai lunges to grab the walk, but the heat smashes him back. His hands flare with pain as he yells, then stumbles away and complains. Still, he clocks something else beside the walkway, leans in, and his curiosity spikes, right as cautious dread whispers that this could end with him getting roasted. Sekai gasps when a suit of shining armor appears, and then a giant magical stone crashes onto the ground. Is this the reward for beating that wolf? He wonders, and when he finally grabs it, the thing is nearly as big as his own head, leaving him stunned. Then the comments light up. Aragami reveals that an uncolored magical stone of this size would be worth trillions, and everyone freaks out. Sekai clutched the magical stone and stared at its worth while whispers hit him. People swore it could power them for 5 years, fuel machine development, and even fetch a mind-blowing price at an auction. They ask if Aragami is here, and he shoots back that he's not. Then Sienna mutters that the number 2 world is getting way too serious, way too fast. And then someone whispers a plan to sell the stone quietly to the Japanese Association, because it'd most likely crush the government's development crew, while Sekai hangs on every word, absorbing it all. Sekai stares at the magical stone, decides to hold onto it for now, and shrugs off the hard stuff. I don't get complicated things. Then he flips the moment on its head and reveals the second prize, a shiny golden candy. He points out that this skill orb's color is different from the last one, but it's the same kind. Yet those past nightmare experiences with this item come rushing back, and he's stuck wondering what to do, because last time it dumped him with a useless skill. Sekai shrugs off what happened before and chows down on the golden candy, smiling, "Thanks for the meal." Then, even after remembering every screw-up he made, he goes right back for more, this time snatching the amber candy too, convinced it tastes amazing and praying it will score him a good skill. After he devours it, he rushes to his skill list, and boom, 2 brand new abilities ignite. Revival, where he can tear off a limb to unleash a brutal strike, and a stamina boost effect that slashes his stamina drain, then cranks up his recovery and attack power the moment he's on the edge of death. Sekai snatches the final prize, a gleaming golden armor, and bursts into celebration, convinced this is the moment he finally fixed his weak defense for good. Yukikaze snaps in that, thanks to the sacrifice skills restriction, Sekai can't wear armor, and just like that, his excitement evaporates. Sekai burst into the middle of the association's meeting room, face grim, and demanded they decide should they just toss the item away. Everyone around the table sits there, stunned, and one person even blurts out the fear, what if Sakai's too dangerous? The association members are still locked in a heated debate about Sakai. One admits that the stuff he grabbed, like that uncolored magical stone, is priceless, but warns them they can't just rush in with brute force, even if he somehow comes back alive. Someone says they never thought this would blow up like it did, and another chimes in that Sekai doesn't look like he's hunting trouble, so yeah, thank goodness. Meanwhile, one of the current members snaps, yelling that the others are insane for caring so little, because Sekai already proved she can't be predicted, and another rushes in to cool everyone down, pushing that they should settle it through a straight-up purchase negotiation, since even the government might cough up the money for it. The meeting at the association turns ice cold and tense fast because one member snaps that even negotiation is pointless. Sekai is too wild and unpredictable to ever control. And another adds this: nobody in that room can even guess what he's thinking, not even after they stare at him nonstop. Until the group can't take it anymore, one cold-eyed member finally snaps, saying the only move left is to pray Sakai dies soon. Sekai grins as the narrator marvels at the sheer madness of someone crawling back alive from Tokyo's nightmare dungeon, the den of demons, and if they really pulled it off, they'd swallow power so monstrous that nobody could even get close to them. We jump back into the story as a boy grins until the girl beside him snaps, "Stop that right now." He's the vice captain, but the boy snaps that don't you dare say stuff like that, rude as hell, while he watches Yumina Resell's broadcast. Now you're probably wondering, was that broadcast legit, or was it all just nonsense? And yeah, turns out he really was messing around a ton with Sakai Kotoba. But then, on the 500th floor, I watched Sakai Kotoba go wild trying to beat that boss, and I couldn't believe it, the way he was reckless, like he still had the upper hand. But somehow, Sekai Kotoba pulled it off. Then the vice captain shot up, demanding, how could anyone believe something like that? After all, this wasn't just any spot. This was the boss territory of Tokyo's strongest dungeon, and there was zero logic in how Sekai Kotoba had even ended up here. Somehow, Sekai Kotoba had to be the luckiest player alive to dive this deep with that insane skill of his, because it's seriously unbelievable, and that's exactly why it's so damn fun to watch. The vice captain keeps raving that he's never seen anything this wild, until the girl finally asks what he's thinking. And he starts to freeze up as Sekai Kotoba's broadcast cuts through the room. The girl goes straight to the chief, snaps his attention to her, and he immediately fires back, "What happened?" Then the girl clutches a book and asks, half annoyed, if he can whisper the name of a man, but before she can finish, he snaps at her to be quiet. He looked like his calm was totally shattered, because then, out of nowhere, someone from his life showed up, and the worst part was, it wasn't only him, other players were watching too, because the protagonist was live broadcasting the current situation, right then, right there. In that world, it wouldn't just touch one person, it would pull everyone into it. At the top sits the realm of superhumans, and people swear that kid was a national-level fighter, so knowing that was real made it impossible not to wonder just how far. Right up to the limit of what Sekai Kotoba could do. Speaking of him, the protagonist finally finished looting the back of the arena and charged into the cave only to slam on the brakes when magic circles erupted right in front of the entrance. Maybe this was one of those transfer gates, because he'd seen the exact same thing in Yukikaze's broadcast. The green one had to rise and the blue one had to drop, and yeah, it was kind of annoying, but Sekai Kotoba wasn't exactly asking for an elevator that went all the way to the top. He wanted it as much as he possibly could, strictly for entry, and the chat crowd swore they totally got what he was feeling. But it couldn't possibly be that ridiculous. Maybe there was something nobody had found yet, and if that's true, then it's time to dive straight to the bottom, even if they won't spell it out for you and call it out as nonsense. They have no idea how deep those places really go, 500 floors just to keep that grind alive, and Sekai Kotoba is talking about slipping right back to the entrance. The vice captain says he's dead on. Because he's got his own plan, and right in the middle of all this, down on the lowest floor, what in the world would the 500th floor even feel like? Lies are smuggled in to hide how to beat the monsters down here in a ruined world, and the whole dungeon below. Lock in an experience packed with benefits, and those benefits only ever seem to belong to the conqueror, like wipe out a dungeon and it vanishes, right? No nation would ever let that happen because they'd rather pinch their resources than give up that power. Hell, the dungeon economy was already cleared and even India had fallen, so there was no way a dungeon could be conquered. This was a vow saved for the ones who clawed their way to the top rank. Sakai Katoba probably had no clue what the dungeon's core even was, which made that question hit harder, because the girl then turned to the vice captain and asked if he was seriously watching someone who could wipe the floor with him. But now you're saying no, he's the least of them, and he doesn't even know how deadly those abilities are. Sakai Katoba can grind for all he wants, but let's see if the captain can drop him in 2 seconds flat, because if that's the confidence you've got watching him walk in, then this is about to get ugly fast. Those brutal hits all but scream one thing: he's about to grow into someone way stronger than the vice captain. And that's exactly why you should pay attention to this mystery. There's nothing more heartbreaking than realizing it makes zero sense, and right on cue, the vice captain demands answers and wants to see what's going on. Yumina Ristel has to get this, because she's the third-ranked fighter in the highest class and everyone else is playing catch-up. The girl blurts, "Wait, did you just want to drop that line?" But she can't help it. Japanese anime and manga have totally hijacked her brain. But in the next heartbeat, he realizes he's cornered, and that's exactly what makes everything way more thrilling. The entire world had its eyes on Sakai Katoba, so now he's left wondering what's coming next and just how long Sakai Katoba plans to keep waiting. Then Sakai Katoba makes up his mind. He charges for the next floor. The chat asks if he's okay and tells him he should rest for the night, but Sakai Katoba stays calm. He's bounced back thanks to a potion, and he's still got 499 floors left to power through. So yeah, it was time to switch over. Then Sakai Katoba stepped down, and the chat swore it was already getting way more intense, like way more than usual, and even he was still a total rookie. Next floor up. He said it was the second. Sakai Katoba snaps to it. It's snowing, and he stares at the dead, leafless trees straight ahead. He starts wondering if this was some fully elevated zone, but no, Sakai Katoba is actually stuck on the 499th floor. Then the real question hits: what does a human mean to a sunwolf? And trying to bring that proof in right now would just spark disagreement. The boss ran the whole floor like a kingdom, and then there were those special no-worry guys too. Yeah, their names weren't random, they were picked on purpose. And that wolf was one of the chosen few. Even if they were handed knowledge and self-awareness, they still had to grow some real emotion, because people were convinced he was special, and what he learned in battle was brutal. The strongest had to show up. So the first time a human stepped up before this wolf, it hit him. He wasn't a hunter, he was just weak and tiny in the face of power, but the wolf still wasn't satisfied, because in the end, he felt like he'd found nothing at all. Even knowing what had brought that monster right to his doorstep, the human had no real reason to keep a beast caged inside, so he relished fighting someone stronger because the pain and chaos would give him the perfect distraction. The wolf tore after the protagonist at full speed, but right in front of him stood a weird, unsettling man. The lone wolf tilted its head, baffled by what humans were doing, somehow forcing things to regrow like living plants. But no, the wolf finally gets it, and realizes there's still nothing he can do. In the end, it turned out to be a wild kind of fun, cold as the final blow, showing the wolf's strength through pure, biting anguish. But I'm watching the protagonist bounce around like he's fighting the air. The wolf freezes in total confusion. No matter how hard he strains to understand, he can't figure out what humans even are, not when he's already being swallowed by flames. There's not a hint of fear on the protagonist's face, like he's actually enjoying it, and that's messed up, because he's standing there like trash, blending in with the weak. The wolf couldn't grow feelings from humans like they could, but those little thoughts kept piling up until they started to harden into something: bravery, or the crushing weight of dark emotion that slowly stole everything inside him. Next time he wouldn't hold back, he'd finish that thing no matter what it cost. But the second he made that call, the initiative slipped right out of his hands. Then the wolf got totally disoriented, because once he clocked the power gap, he knew he couldn't just brute force this, so if the man was handing him a potion, he might as well take the shot. But that moment collapsed into straight-up tragedy when the wolf snarls that the protagonist is a useless human, the person everyone's been waiting for finally. In the end, it turned into the kind of impossible person you'd never believe, and when it blasted apart with a bundle of cores, nobody knew why. That clarity is what finally made the wolf ready. He was a standout, literally the strongest on the floor, so the wolf figured there was no way he could lose. But for some reason, a human who looked clueless still pushed their luck, trying to figure out which one of them was the calmer one, and it didn't work. He just couldn't wrap his head around someone like that existing, and you could bet he'd hear about this clash of battle the moment it happened. They've got to shut the opponent down with a solid, unbeatable strategy now. In that case, it went beyond anything he could have imagined. When the wolf got knocked down, humans marked it as defeated, and now it'll think twice next time. Right then, the 499th floor turned into a nightmare, snowstorming hard right after the lava burst out, like the world couldn't decide what to destroy first. Anyone who's lived in a snow city can feel danger in the air, and the chat is screaming one thing: the protagonist can't afford to lose right now. Because if he froze to death, it'd be downright disrespectful, and nobody's letting that happen. Then Sakai Kotoba speaks up, agrees they've got a point, and tells him to step in and fix it in their situation. So he ends up buying a bunch of clothes, anything to take the chill off, then he throws them all on. Sakai Kotoba was totally ready for that chill, his clothes were perfect for it, and honestly that was only the start. While Sakai Kotoba was broadcasting, the crowd just kept spitting venom, people who couldn't even be happy for someone else's luck. As long as those people stayed there, they could finally breathe easy. Sakai Kotoba had said it himself, he came from a sky-high place, and when his parents got transferred, he packed up and moved to Tokyo 2 years ago. Before that, he was basically a full-on snow kid, roaming those blizzard streets in a t-shirt and shorts, because the snow he grew up with was totally different from the one he's facing now. The chat fires back, was he really that convincing? And then it goes straight for the real question, why won't he say what his level is right now? Once this kind of thing got brought up, Sakai Kotoba stepped in and carved through it, earned real experience, then shot up a level. Now he's rolling into the announcement at level 596, and the power surge was absolutely brutal. Sakai Kotoba doesn't waste time, he blurts out that it's all painfully obvious, one wrong move and you're gone instantly. But he still twisted out of the hit right as Sakai Kotoba tried to dodge too, and it just didn't make sense. Even in the corner, he still got struck, and Sakai Kotoba's arm was ripped clean off. People are saying the monsters on that floor weren't showing themselves at all, like they were actively hiding. So, how do you even fight something like that? People were telling Sakai Kotoba to get out, saying the tension was spiking hard, but right then, Sakai Kotoba snaps into action and uses a skill to read exactly what's going on. And then bam, he spots a tiny level 1029 rabbit, and the second it's seen, the whole chat erupts, screaming that this is it, the one that haunts them all, the trauma in living form. That snow rabbit wasn't just some foe, it was the living core of his worst trauma, coming to end him for real, and the girls swore it turned into an absolutely brutal chase, until they pinned their hopes on Sakai Kotoba's neck and went for the kill. But they all knew nobody wanted to watch a real-life decapitation, so he had to twist and dodge like crazy, because if he didn't, he'd be in serious trouble right then. But watching that rabbit felt weirdly surreal, because it was ridiculously cute. Sakai Kotoba wanted it as a pet, and the chat instantly freaked out. Did he lose his mind, or is he getting played by some scam like that? Because that rabbit had been crowned the most hated monster for the last 20 years, and Sakai Kotoba didn't want it anywhere near his home when it ripped his arm off like it was nothing. Still, when he checked his phone, it didn't lunge or attack, and somehow that freaked-out silence made it look perfect. And once the stream started, people ate up every piece of content Sakai Kotoba could spill. But I'd never seen someone with a permanent mark in research like that. Chat even says that after the first run-in with a snow rabbit, they're supposed to dig up way more info, and it's coming from some high-ranking explorer who's notorious enough to be recognized as the snow rabbit killer. Even with all that sensitivity, it still felt wild watching Sakai Kotoba light up on his broadcast. Like, was he actually having fun? So yeah, it was already better. Still, he had no clue, and the events only proved it, so the adventurer decided to lay out his ideas, and he really had to listen. And in the end, they're left wondering one thing. What on earth is a snow rabbit? That monster that pops up on the middle lower floors and shows up across tons of countries doesn't just come once. It changes up its type, looks, size, and even how impossibly adorable it seems. They look like little rabbits, but somehow these guys are the most hooked creatures on the entire planet. They haul you into that cute trap, then aim straight for your throat, and the next second, boom, they burst from the shadows. Small body, big advantage. They don't just bite either. They've sharpened claws so you don't get an escape, not really. They tear at flesh like it's nothing, and if you dodge, they just hover there, those adorable eyes locked on you. judging exactly when you'll slip and drop your guard because they won't move until the instant they can finally end you. Sakai Katoba saw all of it, and that's when he started watching the rabbit. He was left staring at the whole mess, trying to figure out what any of it even meant, because he figured a wolf must have had self-awareness, right? Yet even if it was smart, maybe it just couldn't wrap its mind around that kind of deeper stuff. Meanwhile, the rabbit, it was painfully docile, like it had no fight in it at all. And the chat, Sakai Katoba, had warned him not to do that, but of course he still went for it. And boom, his fingers were on the rabbit, and suddenly his hand wasn't on his arm anymore. And that rabbit just devoured everything. Then he gulped down a potion, but nope, the rabbit kept eating. He gripped tight in his hand, and that kept. It's been going on for ages, and then somewhere along the way, the rabbit somehow turned sweet and obedient, thanks to that feeding, which is honestly the weird part. Soon, they demanded to know if Sakai Katoba felt satisfied, and with his arm regenerating instead of his head, they asked if the trauma was finally gone, but right as they pressed, Sakai Katoba began. While everyone stared, he couldn't stop thinking about that rabbit. Viewers had warned during the broadcast that it was roaming the first floor, yet somehow it used sheer brute force to yank things around and make its moves. So yeah, that's how it all landed, and now they were basically all friends, even the people from the same team or something along those lines. He asks, "Is it not scary?" And the moment he hears the answer, he snaps on the skill to lock in his focus. It sinks into the rabbit's soul and boom, it vanishes out of thin air. Right as the whole crowd erupts into screaming, they shout that Sakai Katoba is heartless, and then they demand, "What do you even have inside your chest?" But he snaps everyone into focus and tells them to think hard, because snow rabbits are straight up amazing. If they didn't fight, they couldn't even stand being around each other, so it all spiraled into chaos and ended up sinking into the protagonist's arm. And honestly, it's nothing but a species hooked on stealing lives, and maybe he just couldn't stomach what came with that. Sure, killing that creature might have given him something, but it felt like a brand new skill. But he was still stuck in that thought. He slams the past shut and decides it's time to move on. Then Sakai Katoba spots something dropping from the rabbit. Holy crap, it's a real reward, maybe even that green one. Then it happens again, another drop, another reward, and this time he's pretty sure it's green. And the color kept shifting like it was alive, kind of like stone, so the girl decided to reveal that the stone flips to bright white the instant you pick it up. Then, the very next day, it's pure concentrated energy and elemental magic. The red stones are fire, the green ones are wind, and the color tells you exactly what power it's holding. It was dead simple, and Sakai Katoba lit up. He thanked the woman right away for saying it. Honestly, she just wanted to flex what she knew, like that was the whole point. Then Sakai Katoba. He must have heard about this secret place that helps with magic stones, those things people tap for energy development. And then it hits him, what kind of attribute even works for something like this? They try to explain, but neither of them can honestly say they really know. They should explain all of it to Sakai Katoba, because then the vice captain breaks it down. These stones don't just sit there, they hold the power inside, and you can use them to force phenomena into existence, like wind, cold, or even brief bursts of something real. And if you get the wrong hands, they can turn that power into something nasty, like powering generators or fueling development with malicious intent. First, they figured out the wind could become power, like a wind turbine that spins even if the magic stones aren't powering it. Then they'd funnel the rest into energy circuits and even airplane mechanics, because a magic stone of that size could keep things running for a whole month. Sakai Katoba finally hands the woman the victory, claiming she nailed the exact kind of words he understands best. Then Sakai Katoba drops a truth bomb, explaining isn't just showing up and dumping every detail on someone, and the whole chat erupts as the man just sits there, giving zero reaction. Sakai Katoba even mentions he heard this stuff shows up around the world, and that magic stones have attributes that can be swapped out, plus he throws in that he'd been running for a month because it was interesting. But none of it matters to Sakai Katoba, because they still need something to make the dungeon way more intense. The chat begged Sakai Katoba to use that regulated magic stone, but he wanted nothing to do with magic. Right now, all he cared about was finding a safe place fast, because his arm still hadn't healed. He needed a quiet spot to heal up, so he started hunting for a cave or something, but the snow was so wild he couldn't even see a thing. Right there in front of him, the chat swears this place is massive, and the 500th floor is so foggy you can barely see, so who knows what kind of monsters could be waiting for him as he pushes forward. Sakai Katoba insisted this might be the move, just wait this out, because honestly he didn't think he'd catch hypothermia. And before long, he starts to feel it, like the snow is thickening straight ahead, as if some force is swallowing the view and piling it up in front of him. Maybe it was the city hall in Sakai Kotoba's town, where toy dinosaurs crowd the place and a huge dinosaur monument stands right in front of his city station, basically warning that he's marked to be sent there and nowhere else. Sakai Kotoba shoots a quick apology to the chat, but the moment people clock where they are in real life, everything gets weird fast, real fast. Right in front of him loomed something huge, big enough to make the wolf look tiny, like a joke, and the chat's saying Sakai Kotoba won't stand a chance. And maybe he should find a way back fast. Sakai Kotoba didn't give off any death flag at all, and that made him smile, but the truth was terrifying. That monster was a blind spot, and Sakai couldn't read a single sign. They accepted the silhouette, but first they had to nail down who that monster was to keep everything from spiraling. Then the woman casually drops, "I can see it," without even trying, and suddenly it hits them. If they rush into that fight, they'll get wrecked immediately. Because Sakai Kotoba's skill damage is basically limitless, he's left with a few doubts. Against those monsters, a couple hits could wipe out everything Sakai Kotoba has in one go, and right then he's stuck in deep thought, weighing his next move. The protagonists figured why stop now, and decided to nail these critical hits one more time. If he can fight with these skills, then on the very first try he should yell that he refuses to lose, because they're the kind who love that. Honestly, repeating it felt weird as hell. Then Sakai Kotoba snaps that this bad habit is exactly what he's starting to pick up right as he whips around, ready to bolt again, because now it's all about making it back to where he came from. But when Sakai Kotoba spun around, the snow had already stopped falling. The world's light and dark snapped into focus so sharply that he could feel the shadow crawling right behind him. And when Sakai Kotoba spun around, he froze. There, towering over him, was this massive turtle staring right at him like it had him under a microscope. Sakai Kotoba jolted when he spotted the turtle, convinced the silhouette was a dinosaur, until he noticed the long neck and realized it was still trapped in a brutally cold world, like someone was trying to trick him. The turtle froze for half a heartbeat, then bolted straight at Sakai Kotoba in a blur. And just like that, Sakai Kotoba didn't flinch. He countered with razor-sharp precision. The turtle blasted out a brutal gust of wind, and Sakai Kotoba somehow held out, hanging on for dear life. For a moment it held on, then it tore through the air, shot straight into a mountain, and slammed into distance. The chat screams, "That was insane," and even now. He slammed onto the peak of the mountains, and Sakai Kotoba immediately felt how much health he'd burned through, but landing in the snow saved him, and he couldn't help but shout, "Magnificent," as they. And when that blood hit the snow, it all made sense, because after everything, they told them to reevaluate the whole situation, insisting Sakai Kotoba was still on the right path. But the protagonist admits it felt weird the second he started itching, and the shock only got worse when he realized how far he'd been thrown. So massive was the turtle that it shattered the chat members' sense of scale. Soon panic hit and they had no clue what to do next. Sakai Kotoba just shrugged and said, "That's a great question." They had no clue what to do right then, because that turtle just stared at them, unmoving and totally calm, and once they realized it wasn't moving at all. Sakai Kotoba made his choice right then. There was only one thing he was going to do, right there in the heart of those mountains. Ended up buying a pot, then he realized it was go time because everyone had been waiting and the quieter fans were the ones who clocked it first. Right then, they noticed the Sakai Kotoba stared at that pot type and thought, just in case, so he grabbed another one. Then he charges down the snowy mountain, stunned by how damn refreshing it feels to do something like that. The way he was tearing down the road was straight up unreal. Then Sakai Kotoba spotted something he couldn't figure out how to deal with, right then and there. Yeah, he figured out how to drop from the sky the right way, but that was a whole different beast than skiing, and then he realized the instant he hit that speed. Something was straight ahead, a snow rabbit. They don't even need a strategy, just dodge. Sure, everyone panics about the snow rabbit, but Sakai Kotoba slips out of every hit like it's nothing. Saying goodbye and making a curse at someone would be a truly horrible thing to do. Right after that, Sakai Kotoba slams his head straight into a tree. He stared in too close, there was no dodging it, so he went down hard into the snow, and Sakai Kotoba couldn't afford to miss what was right in front of him, because the guy who never shirks the work he's supposed to do. Sakai Kotoba bragged that his defense was just as wild. He somehow stayed in his original body, too, and then everyone noticed how strange it was, so someone finally spoke up. Since it had been ages since they'd caught that broadcast and he was already bruised and broken, they demanded to know where he was headed, but he couldn't even give an answer. It had been ages since Sekai Kotoba spotted Yukikaze in the chat, so he jumped in and asked how everything was going, and before long the other person fired back asking if his arm was healed yet. But he insists the cooldown's already over, so it's been ages since he was last there. Then Sekai Kotoba decides to get his arm back in action, so they press him. Was the long cooldown just because he hadn't healed, thanks to that massive damage skill that demands a sacrifice? Right then it hits him, his cooldown is down to 30 minutes and everything finally clicks into place. Sekai Kotoba still had a few problems he'd prepared for, but he couldn't shake the need to find a safer spot to think straight, yet all he could see was endless snow, so he had no clue where to go next. Then someone in the chat blurts out that in the snowy American mountain ranges there are spots where you can shelter inside caves, something that feels necessary, but they're not sure if Japan has the same kind of place. Now they want to trace where this info even came from. Right then, they finally learned the truth. There were enemies lurking on the way, and from what he'd seen before, something was still out there besides Sekai Kotoba. Either way, the road ahead was pure danger, and everyone nodded because they all agreed this was the first time they'd ever heard it. Sekai Kotoba thanked the three. So yeah, he should have burst forward with everything he had, but he totally misread the situation because that Sekai Kotoba wasn't hearing a single word anyone said. Even though he swore it was true, turns out the reality was way different. He didn't just move, he powered forward while he listened, and that's when the girl chirps that she's nearby, so yeah, he needs to jump to the next one. Right then, the chat labels him a fanatic. But it didn't matter what the why was, Sekai Kotoba was flying forward, running like a mermaid, and nothing in that moment could stop him, because some reason he couldn't even name, and pure, uncontrolled passion was driving him to sprint. Zooming across that huge snowy wasteland felt awesome, until Sekai Kotoba missteps and crashes hard to the ground because a cave was right there. And the whole chat kept hammering the same warning into his head, yet Sekai Kotoba clung to the wall and it still dropped a little more because apparently nobody learned the lesson, not him either. Sekai Kotoba knows better than anyone how brilliant that woman is, but that place is exactly what she's been sniffing out, so he's convinced it isn't some trap. So he finally drops the wall, convinced a safe spot is just up ahead, then he tumbles down like everything's slipping out from under him.